Hello there guys, it's CoolFox over here, and today I'm bringing you an unboxing and review of the Byroras CA100 8K action camera. So starting off with the unboxing, on the front you will find the action camera itself alongside the model number and also that it shoots in 8K. And you will also find a few specifications such as the 40-meter water resistance, the 2-inch touchscreen, that it supports Wi-Fi as well, has a 170-degree viewing angle, has a time-lapse mode and also a burst mode. So looking at the side of the box, you have all the accessories listed. On the back you will find the other specifications such as that this has an integrated wireless network, so if you want to connect to it through your phone you can. It supposedly has an adjustable viewing angle as well. It can record in 8K at 15 frames per second, so this is one of the main features of this action camera. 4K 60 and 4K 30, which is really good since action cameras usually are better off at higher frame rates. 2.7K at 60 frames per second and 30, 1080p at 120s. You can obviously record a bit of slow motion here, and presumably it also has 60 frames per second and 30, 720p at 240 frames per second and at 120 frames per second. So again, you have more capabilities here for slow motion, and presumably you also have the 60 and 30 option inside of the camera. Then you will find the 2-inch touch display, which is supposed to have a 4K display, but I will show this later on in the video. The photo quality is supposed to be up to 20 megapixel, which is really good as well. So you will have two batteries here, so if one discharges you can easily swap it out. It is multilingual, so you can change the language inside of the action camera, and it takes a micro SD card, which is obviously not included. To take full advantage of the camera itself, I would suggest getting a high-speed micro SD card. Obviously if you have a slower one you might not be able to record at 8K, but we will go into this later on in the video. And on the other side you will find two QR codes here for the application itself, one for the App Store and the other on the Play Store. So now taking the sleeve off, you will find that underneath there is a white box, and opening up this box you will find the camera here at the top inside of its waterproof casing, which we will take a look at later on, and then you will find the accessories here inside of another box. So when you open this box you'll find a warranty card which states that you have a year of warranty, and if you find any problems you can either message them on Amazon or send them an email on the email provided. And apart from that you will find the other accessories inside of this box. So taking a look at what's included inside of the box, you'll find all of these items. So obviously if you want to go, for example, biking, you can use this mount right here. If you want to attach it to a helmet you can use this mount right here. You have two extra batteries as listed on the back of the box. You have the wrist controller here, the extra back door, so basically there are a lot of accessories here to go around and use for different kinds of sports. At the bottom of the box you will find a quick start guide here, and taking a quick look at it, all it states is the application that you need to use, how to open up the casing, how to put in the battery, how to turn it on and start recording, and also their website and email address. So this is a very basic quick start guide, but you will get the hang of the camera very easily. So now taking a look at the action camera itself, you will see the housing here is fully made out of plastic. You get the latch here which you detach by opening up that side first, and then popping off the back door here, which has a silicone trim, obviously to avoid water leaking inside. You also get a few plastic protectors here on the case itself and also on the camera, so you can easily remove these. And apart from that, to close it, all you need to do is grab this latch, put it in like this and pop in the front part like that. And as you can see you have chrome buttons here, so this one for example turns it on, this one starts recording or takes the photo, and these are used to navigate through the menu. And apart from that you can attach the mounts and detach them from the bottom right here. So you usually will have this type of screw, and once you unscrew that you can see that there was even a rubber casing here to avoid water leakage. Then all you need to do is pull it off the latch here on the bottom, and like this you can obviously change and put in, for example, the handlebar mount or even the adhesive mounts here, and you can also clip them inside of this one right here. So it all depends on what you want to do. And once the camera is out, you will also see that this has a plastic protector here, so taking that off and looking at the remainder of the buttons, you can also see here that on the front you have a plastic protector on the lens itself, which is a very good addition. And then if you look at the buttons you can see that this is a very basic layout, and you have the power button here on the front, you have the navigation buttons here on the side, and the record or take photo button on the top right here. On the bottom you find a mounting hole. You also find the battery port here on the bottom, so you can easily attach one of the batteries included inside of the accessory box. And then on the side you will find the mini HDMI and micro USB for charging, and also the micro SD card slot. So now putting in one of the supplied batteries here, you need to make sure that it's aligned with the contact pins here at the bottom, and close down the door. Now here you can see that it is actually bulging, which is a common problem with these cameras, but nonetheless it will work without any problems. So now all you need to do is hold down this button here, you will see it turn on immediately, and here you can see the touchscreen in action. So pressing on the settings, for example, and going to video resolution, you can choose the different resolutions here. So for example, if I want 8K at 15, you can choose that. Obviously I can't choose the others here, for example, because I do not have the SD card inside. But going on the photo mode here, going to photo resolution, you can change from the different megapixel settings here. You can also change the ISO from auto to a desired ISO. You also have the time-lapse interval here, so if you set it to unlimited, it will keep on going until you turn it off. You have the time-lapse duration, so again, if you put it at unlimited and not choose an amount of time, you would stop the time-lapse by stopping the recording. And as you can see, in fact, going down you will see other options. So for example, you have night lapse, which you can turn on or off. Burst photo, which you can take, for example, for 3 shots at 1 second each, 7 shots at 2 seconds, and so on. You have a delay timer here, so if you want a delay from when you press the button, you can obviously set it from there. You also have long exposure here, so you can take long exposure photography, although it won't be really good on an action camera, of course. You also have a raw option here, so you can turn it on if you want it raw. And then you also have the photo scene mode here, so this is basically for color temperature. And if you leave it at manual, you would be able to arrange it before you take the photo. Now going on to the last options menu here, you have sound, so if you want shutter sound, you can turn it off or on. The boot up sound, you can turn it off as well. You can turn off the beep as well. You can change the volume from 1 to 3. You also have remote pair, so if you turn it on, you would be able to pair up to your phone. You have special effects here, so black and white, sepia, vivid, and all of these different ones which you can find on a lot of different cameras. Diving mode, so you can turn this on if you're going diving, for example. You can turn off or on the date stamp, so I would prefer turning it off because if it's not correct it would be very annoying to fix. You can also change the date and time right here. You have a screensaver, so after a minute it will turn off the screen to conserve battery. You also have auto power off here, so after 2 minutes of not using the camera it will power off by itself. You also have power on auto record, so once you turn it on it can start recording, but I would prefer keeping that off. You also have power frequency here, so you can change between 50 Hz or 60 depending on your country, so this is basically to avoid the flickering of the lights, for example. You also have white balance here, so you can change accordingly. You also have exposure here, I would prefer leaving it at +0. You can reset Wi-Fi settings. You can change the language from inside of this language panel here. You can also format the card, which I do recommend every time you insert a new SD card, obviously so it would be fully compatible with the camera itself. And then you can go into system settings, so default settings, you can restore everything to the default setting. System info will show you the version of the software inside. And card info will show you the information of the SD card inside. So for example, now I don't have any card, so it will display as no card. So here, now that I went back all the way, you can see that it's set to 8K 15 frames per second, and you can easily tell that it's at 15 frames per second considering all of the lag here. You can also zoom in here with these plus and minus buttons, so we will test that out in the video. And here, for example, you can find all of the different modes that you can use. So I also have slow motion here as an option. Obviously you can record at 1080p 120 as said before. Obviously if you're at slow motion it will try and record at the highest frame rate possible. So if you want 240 frames per second, for example, you can go into the settings and change it from the video resolution. Then you have the time-lapse video, so again you can choose your preferred frame rate and the interval obviously from the settings as I showed you before. You have the photo mode here, for example, which I set to 20 megapixels, so obviously it will take a photo at the full 20 megapixels. you can obviously change it, as I said before, from the settings menu. You have time-lapse photo. Again, I set this to 20 megapixels, so it will take them at 20 megapixels. And the photo burst, if you want to take a burst of photos, which again I set to 20 megapixels, so it will take them at 20 megapixels. So now going into the Wi-Fi option here, you can see that it will come up with a password and also a QR code. And with this, you have to obviously install the application on your phone if you want to connect to it through Wi-Fi. So when you scan the QR code, it will come up with this application, which is iSmartBV. So you can easily find it through the Play Store. So once you install the application and boot it up, you will see that it will ask you for access to the location, and if you press on deny, and you obviously need to allow it to access your files because it needs to save some stuff on your phone as well. And then you will come up with the license agreement, and once you press on agree, you will go straight into the application itself. So you have up to 3 cameras here which you can add. So you need to hold down this button right here and it will display all of the Wi-Fi connection info right here. You need to go into your Wi-Fi settings and actually connect to it through here to the action camera. And as you can see, it came up right here. So then you need to put in the password, and once that's done, you can see here that it will tell you the Wi-Fi connection is ready, and it will display the name of your phone on the camera, and it will also display that it's connected on your phone. So here, once you press on Wi-Fi connect, here for example I do not have the SD card, so it said that the SD card was removed. And you can see that you can obviously record from here. You also have a live view of the action camera itself, and you can also check the photos that you took, or the videos in this case as well. And obviously in this case I do not have the SD card inserted, so there will be no videos or photos here, although there will be some samples at the end of the video. Here you can also see that you can change some settings of the camera itself. So here for example you have white balance, the frequency which you can change depending on your region, the date stamp which you can turn on or off, the camera Wi-Fi configuration, so again it basically shows you the Wi-Fi name and the password, so you can obviously change those. You can also change the video size here, so obviously you can choose between all of the different resolutions. So all the app does is basically let you record through it, obviously also take photos, and you can change the settings from the UI of the application instead of the action camera itself, which I find to be very convenient, and overall having the UI on your phone is a lot easier to control. So my final thoughts about the camera is that this is actually a pretty good camera for the price you're paying, but it is definitely not 8K. As you can tell, even the newer GoPros are not 8K, they only go up to 4K. So to see this 8K claim is a bit risky already, but nonetheless this does shoot pretty good 4K, and the 8K itself is basically useless, as all it does is upscale the 4K footage and increase the file size, and overall I do not think is worth it, as you can see on the test footage that was shown before. But I would say that this is still pretty good for the price, so if you're looking for a cheap action camera that you can take around and not really care about that much, although you can find cheaper ones without the 8K claim that shoot at 4K, which is still not really as good quality as a GoPro, for example, at 4K, which is to be expected since GoPros are a lot more expensive than this, but nonetheless it is still a pretty good action camera. So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe for more content. This was CoolFox and I'm out. Peace.